Hello, welcome to Bryant Fitness Systems. Thank you for clicking on the video. And this video is all about becoming a self-employed professional and the pros and cons of it. And I'm going to give you some top tips on what you should do and what you shouldn't do. If you're a PT, a coach, a physiotherapist, doctor, builder, whatever you decide that you want to be self-employed for. Most builders are self-employed, MPs are self-employed, solicitors are self-employed, accountants are self-employed. So the bigger percentage of the workforce now is self-employed. And the reason being is that we don't like working for other people. Now, even though I'm a PT Master Chek Practitioner Level 5, Master Shaman Practitioner, which I'm studying now, is that you have a lot more free time. But the thing with having a lot more free time, sometimes it means that your income goes down. So if your income goes down, you've got to have good savings. And if you ain't got savings, do not think about becoming self-employed. The other thing with self-employed is that you've got to be a good marketer. So lots of people find me online, they read my reviews and they get in touch. And I've just had 4 new reviews go live, which I'm very, very grateful for them people recommending me and saying how great I am. And I do my job with passion, love, honesty, sometimes a bit too brutal for some people to handle, but I really love what I do. And if you speak to the solicitor, the lawyer, and the people that are self-employed, most of them are really good at what they do. They love what they do. They just don't want to be stuck to a 9 to 5, even though most self-employed people will end up putting 50, 60 hours a week into their business to keep it successful. And I've had to do that many times. There's been many times when I've had to update my website, I'm not being paid for it. I've had to go to a networking event where I'm paying them to go to the networking event and got absolutely nothing from it. I've done marketing campaigns online where I paid a guy to do it for me and not got nothing from it, okay? So these are the pitfalls of being self-employed, is that you don't get holiday pay, you don't get sick pay, and nobody's there really to support you apart from your family and your really good friends that will hopefully motivate you and say, don't give up, things will improve, things will get better. And I know a lot of trainers, and the trainers that have been PTing for 20 years or more know all these pitfalls. So they've got a good savings account, or they budget really, really well so they can keep their website live, they can keep everything going. Does that make sense? But if you're bad at business, or you shouldn't go into business, if you're in debt, if you've not got get up and go attitude, if you don't want to keep educating yourself, if you think that everybody owes you something, then it isn't going to work. Does that make sense? And it depends on your personality and stuff and your background. If you let your background determine who you are now, you won't be successful self-employed. But if you go, right, I'm turning over a new leaf, I'm going to be a different person, I'm going to, really help people. If you're a PT and you want to do it with love and passion and drive in which to help them get results. So with me, with my clients, I never slag them off, I never put them down, I just give them motivational talks. Why don't you want to do the squats today? Oh, I don't really like them, Scott. All right, we'll do half a squat. Okay, let's do that instead. Does that make sense? So always listening to my clients on what they really, really want. And sometimes as a self-employed person, you may be a PT that wants to take on more and more and more people because you're cheap. But when you do this, you end up burning yourself out. So that means you won't be giving the same service to the first person you work with in the morning to the one you work with late in the evening, because PT is quite shift work where you'll see clients in the morning, maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon, then you'll see a few in the evening, and then you're done. That's your day done. But for me, I'm lucky. I work from 9 till about 7. I won't work later than that because I know it will trash my own body, and I'm not really giving my clients quality. So I had some nuts earlier and it's dried up my throat a bit. Not giving the quality. So remember, what you charge as a self-employed PT is really important as well. If you're paying £1,000 a month rent to the gym, and then you've got £1,000 mortgage to pay, you've got to find £2,000 before you even pay yourself. Now, most gyms, I don't know about now, but normally the gyms will only let you charge £60-70 an hour. Now, if only 3% of people want PT, and there's 10 trainers in the gym, and there's 3,000 members, that's probably only 20 to 30 members that are going to book you for PT. And this is the way you won't make money. But what they'll do is they'll charge you a joining fee, and then a t-shirt fee, and a business card fee, and to be on their website, which could be up to £500. So they're making £500 profit for a t-shirt that cost them £1.99, and business cards that cost them £6. They're making huge amounts of profit. So they don't care whether you're successful or not. You have to care whether you're going to be successful. Does that make sense? A friend of mine, a really good friend, I've known for 20 years, he worked in all the big gyms. Like the main one he worked at was Fitness First, where I used to work as well. And he made it quite successful, but he kept his rate very low, and then he was a manager part-time. So he was getting the management income as well as PT income. So he managed to work it all out, whereas I've never been a manager. I've always been on my own. Does that make sense? I like it like that. But obviously, it's much, much harder being self-employed on your own when you haven't got another revenue stream coming in. So I know guys that do classes, but they're still charging £25 to £30 an hour for a class, and they were charging that 20 years ago. So that means none of the class group people have had no increase in pay. The same as the person that works for Pure Gym has to do 12 hours a week for the gym and pay a rent and work in the gym. So really, you're doing yourself by working there. Does that make sense? But being self-employed is difficult. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not going to lie. And but the great thing about self-employment as a PT, all the books, all the courses, all the things that you do in your business go towards your tax bill. Does that make sense? So even if you work, this is the benefit of working in a big gym, is that one, you've got constant people to talk to, as long as you're not pissing off the other trainers because you're talking to their clients. One, a typical, hopefully, if they do the referral right, where you're getting a referral 1 a month, 1 a week, whatever, in which to be able to take on a new client. So that's a good thing. The rents are extortionate, but the gym has to make money, so I understand that. But with the rent being so high and the cost of living being so high, your rate has to be high. If it isn't, then you can't pay your bills. So recently I had somebody complain about my rates being too high. Now, if you want to work with a level 5 at my level with over 30 years of experience, it's not going to be cheap. Do you know what I mean? And I don't quibble about what I charge. You either want to work with me or you don't. Does that make sense? And if you Google the average rate of a PT in London is £100 to £150 an hour, minimum. So if you're really charging less than that and you're working in a London gym, or you're working in a freelance studio or you're working from home, you're really doing yourself. Does that make sense? Because you're not charging enough to cover all your bills. So if your car payment comes out, your insurance payment comes out, and your mortgage payment comes out, but you're not making the numbers up in sessions, can you see how you can't pay your bills? And with the Chek system, I do 145 assessments. Every client gets a personalised program. The 145 assessments takes about 4 hours, and I've added more to it now. And then doing lab work and gut analysis, store analysis, and all these other things that I do, all that takes time and costs more money. So really, for me, taking on a cheaper client that really can't afford me, I know that I can't get them the result that they're looking for. And if they not listening and they can't pay, it means that they're not going to listen. Does that make sense? So it's nothing personal when I choose not to work with somebody. It's just me making a judgment call on who I'm going to work with. And this is what every PT does. This is what every self-employed person does. You know, when the builder comes round, he doesn't just think, am I going to get paid to build the new wall? He's thinking, are these people going to be decent enough to pay him? And they're thinking, is he going to be decent enough to get them results? Does that make sense? So we've seen nightmare builders where they build a wall sideways and still want the same amount of money. Does that make sense? And this is what is difficult with PT, is that there's 45,000 in London, all charging different rates. Some are charging £200 an hour, some are charging with minimum knowledge, and some of them are charging, 135 with huge amounts of knowledge that are going to get you the great result. So this is what you have to remember, is that I said this before, are you the Rolex of the fitness industry, or are you the Casio watch? So a Casio watch is a good watch, it will last a while, but when people look at it, it doesn't look high value, does it? And will it still be working in 10 years' time? Does that make sense as well? So this is the thing with me, is that being in business over 25 years now, you have your peaks and your troughs as well. So you've got to make sure that your bank account, that you can cover all your bills, because the gas board isn't going to understand when you can't pay it. The mortgage, if you don't pay it, they ain't going to understand when you can't pay it just because work's gone quiet. Does that make sense? So you have to take all these other areas into account. So if you are thinking about being self-employed, this is what you must do. Have a year's salary saved, or have family that can help you when you get in the shit. But really, you don't want to be doing that, because it will cause animosity in your family, and they'll go, he borrowed all this money, he never paid it back, he's a shyster, and they won't like you. So I don't borrow money off a family ever. So having a year's salary saved. The next thing is look at your target market. Look at, who you want to work with, what demographic of persons you want to work with. So because of my fees are so high, my clients have to be very wealthy and have to be very educated and wanting to put the time and effort in. Because obviously losing weight and getting into shape, people think, I'm paying my PT, I'm getting into shape. No, you've got to do the work to get into shape by listening to your PT and taking on the knowledge that I've got, or the PT's got in their head, in which to be able to get you the result that you're looking for. Does that make sense? And this is why we see still so many fat people in gyms and walking around more than ever before, because they're not listening to the PT, or they're not booking a PT. Or they're reading the wrong book, or they're doing too much exercise. Does that make sense? So I found in my 25 years, a whole format that I use that always works with everybody as long as they stick to it and keep doing it and not give up. Does that make sense? And some people, when you're self-employed, will start with you, be with you for 3 months, give up. And you're wondering, wait a minute, they haven't lost enough weight yet. They've only lost about 12 pounds when they wanted to lose 2 stone. And they think that they can lose it in 3 months. It's impossible. So with me, honesty is really important. So I said to a client recently, they put in their paperwork, oh, it might take 3 to 6 months. And I went, well, with all the evaluation that we've done, you're looking at a minimum of a year. So now it's up to them whether they stay for that year or they give up. Does that make sense? I hope they won't give up and that they keep with it and we get the result that they're looking for. Then they become independent of me. And I know in my head, I've done everything 100% correct and they've got awesome results. So that's what drives me, is seeing the results. Yes, I get paid very, very well for what I do, but I've spent over 70 grand now on my education, giving my clients the best of the best. The best of the best. And that's what people come to me for, knowing that I'm a level 5 practitioner in London and knowing that I've read over 1,007 books now, and I keep reading, I keep updating my knowledge. I just recently done a course with Alberto Villoldo and going to go on another course with Alberto Villoldo for 6 months. And that's because I really love what I do, and it's a joy to me to see the results in the client, like a client that can't do a chin-up, that can do a chin-up, a client that can't squat properly, that can squat properly, a client that loses 3 stone, that couldn't lose 3 stone on their own. All these things that I really enjoy to see. And it's a challenge as well. Some clients can be really challenging and a real nightmare, but I stick to it and stay with them to get them the results that they want. But remember, as a PT or any business, you don't have to work with everybody. If somebody gives you the wrong vibe or is disrespectful to you, then you can say, I don't want to work with you. And even shops do this. You know, if you go into a shop and you're a bit rude and a bit narky, the server won't serve you properly. The same in the restaurant. If you're a bit rude in the restaurant, they'll slam the plate down, or they'll spend aid. I know that happens anyway when you're not even rude. But do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I mean? We all get a choice. And that's why I love being self-employed. I can choose who I work with. And if clients are not towing the line, I won't just keep them forever, because I'll be prostituting myself out, for one. And two, I only want people that I'm going to get results with. I don't want people, yes, they can have a debate, but not argue about everything and go, that's not true, and I don't believe in that, and that's a load of BS. I don't want to work with people like that. They're a complete waste of time. And they'll always be fat and they'll always be in pain because they're not listening to the person that they're paying a lot of money to. Does that make sense? So really, always be professional as much as you possibly can. Some people are just out there to cause a problem. So just let them people go and do your own thing. And no matter what happens, never, ever, ever give up. And I've had my tough times, but I've kept going. Because the amount of times you see a movie or you see, somebody, they're trying to revenate a house, and everything keeps going wrong. But eventually they do it in the end. So look at your business as being a house. Or you've got a car, a petrol car, you're trying to fix the engine, you can't find the fault, takes you days and days, then you find the fault, then you fix it, then your car's fixed. Or the same with, when in America, they get them chopper bikes and they're rusty to fuck and they're in a real mess. And then they start building it, but they come across all these little hurdles that they have to jump over in which to get the bike looking pristine. This is the way that you look at your business, is that you're going to get tough times. Everybody gets tough times. Everybody gets tough times. Doctor, anyone that's self-employed, we speak to lawyers and solicitors, during COVID, they wasn't getting work. If you look at models and movie stars and pop stars, and you speak to them and say, you know, how's it been this year? Oh, you know, the record's not selling that well. Or we haven't had as many gigs as we would normally get. So never take it personally. The same as if I turn a client down because I know that I can't work with them because it's a clash of personality or they're not understanding what I'm trying to coach them on. Don't take it personally. Just go and find someone else. Why waste your time bitching and moaning about it when you could be working with somebody else? Maybe to not my level, in my opinion, but you have to think about when you're booking your PT that we're self-employed and we love what we do. Well, I do anyway. And I don't want to be going to work hating who I'm going to see. Does that make sense? If the person's winding me up the wrong way, I would just say, look, let's call it a day. I can't work with you. And I think that's more credible, and being more honest is the best thing to do than rather just keep taking their money. And you're in, as a PT in your head, you're going, they're not lost any weight. This is 6 months on now. They're not looking any better. They're still as weak as anything. But I like them to chat to. You know, I don't want to waste my time with all that. That's just all BS and bullshit as far as I'm concerned, you know. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please share, please like, and never take anything personally. Just take it in your stride and you will get tested. So I joined the BNI, the Business Networking International. What a load of crap that was. A whole year. I paid them over $3,000, got 2 referrals in a year. And it was just a complete waste of time because I had to get up at 6 in the morning to be at the talk. And then you had to do talks about what you did and you still wasn't getting anyone signing up or calling you or whatever, when you could have spent that money on Google and got hits and clicks straight away. But Google's really expensive now, you know, even though the BNI was really expensive. So be careful of the business networking that you do, and be careful of what websites you sign up to as well. And now there's lots of people spamming other people, so be aware of that as well. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, please share, please like. Peace out. Bye-bye.